Stay with us. Welcome to Hannity. 18 months and counting, and guess what? We're still waiting for that Inspector General's report on how the FBI and DOJ completely mishandled the 2016 Clinton server investigation. But tonight, parts of that IG report and their findings are being leaked. We'll share it with you, and it's not looking good for James Comey, Andrew McCabe, or Loretta Lynch, but we will see. Are there going to be criminal referrals? We have new information. Also, we have breaking new information surrounding Mueller's runaway witch hunt, as he is now demanding that all witnesses turn over their phones so his merry band of Hillary-supporting and Trump-hating sycophants can comb through private communications. Are these witnesses going to be allowed to follow the Clinton model? Are they going to be allowed to delete, bleach pit, remove the SIM cards, and bust them up with hammers? Oh, interesting thought. I doubt it. Now, also the First Lady, Melania Trump, back in the public spotlight tonight after weeks of rampant and frankly disgusting speculation from your corrupt news media. We're going to show you how the president responded earlier today, and also the president shining a light on criminal justice reform in the wake of his latest clemency grant. An amazing story. We'll analyze that and much more, and more fallout. Bill Clinton still under fire for his disastrous book tour. Looks like Slick Willie's no longer getting a free pass from his friends in the media and the Democratic Party. And we have yet another, this one's probably the best one yet, amazing economic statistic. Yeah, all in 501 days of Donald Trump. We have all of that, a lot to cover. Busy news night in tonight's very important opening monologue. All right, ABC News now reporting at this hour the DOJ's watchdog, Michael Horowitz, is coming out strong against James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Loretta Lynch in his forthcoming report, which examines how Obama's Justice Department and FBI, well, mishandled the 2016 criminal case into Hillary Clinton. In other words, we were right and your media was wrong. Now, of course, fired FBI Director James Comey. He cleared Hillary Clinton of all charges, but not before many public missteps, misdeeds surrounding the investigation. According to the report, quote, one source telling ABC that the draft report explicitly uses the words insubordinate to describe Comey's behavior. Now, the IG report will also allegedly rebuke Loretta Lynch and fired Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. None of this is surprising. Remember, the McCabe report came out, then comes the criminal referral. After all, we know about Comey's exoneration before investigation. We know about Loretta Lynch's illicit tarmac meeting with Bill Clinton just before she helped clear his wife of all these charges. And we all know about McCabe's Democratic ties and rampant pattern of lying. And we also know Hillary Clinton, she did commit felonies. She did obstruct justice. That is indisputable at this point. Now, as we reported last night, Andrew McCabe, he's now requesting immunity from the U.S. Senate in exchange for his testimony, possibly against his former boss, James Comey. Now, the full unredacted report should literally have been released by now. And frankly, if it's released any time between now and next Wednesday, remember we have the summit on Tuesday of next week, that means they're trying to bury this on a summer weekend so it doesn't get the coverage it normally would. If they release it early next week, they are totally trying to bury this during this all-important summit in Singapore. Now, what Americans deserve, what you deserve, is justice in the form of criminal referrals for everybody we just mentioned. It has been 18 long months, and Mr. Obstruction himself of Congress, Rod Rosenstein, he has had this report for 2 weeks already, and I can only imagine what he's trying to get removed or changed or redacted. Our own Catherine Herridge has a new report about FBI lovebird, one of the two, Peter Strzok in this case. Remember, he was the agent demoted after his rampant anti-Trump text became publicly available. Our own Catherine Herridge is reporting that he was actually the lead investigator in this Clinton case. He hated Trump. He wanted the insurance policy. And then he moved on to the Russia, so-called Russia collusion case, and then he was put on Mueller's witch hunt team. In other words, this Trump-hating FBI agent played a lead role in pretty much completely everything, including clearing Hillary Clinton of charges, crimes we know she committed, and then tapped to investigate Donald Trump. One more reason the Inspector General's report should have been released by now. And meanwhile, as the Mueller witch hunt churns on, the special counsel, this is interesting. They are demanding that witnesses turn in their phones so Team Mueller, and of course his pit bull, Andrew Weissman, and Jeannie Ray, who work for Clinton, get to review all of their electronic communications. He wants the phones turned over, even texts that are on what are called encrypted apps like WhatsApp or Signal or one of these things. Now, maybe Mueller's witnesses, I don't know. If I advised them to follow Hillary Clinton's lead, delete all your emails, and then acid wash the emails and hard drives on your phones, then take your phones and bash them with a hammer into little itsy-bitsy pieces, use bleach bit, remove the SIM cards, and then take the pieces and hand it over to Robert Mueller and say, Hillary Rodham Clinton, this is equal justice under the law. How do you think that would work out for everybody who Mueller's demanding their phones of tonight? Now, I'm certain the result would not be the same as Hillary's. And meanwhile, the person in charge of this Mueller witch hunt, the Deputy AG, Rod Rosenstein, he has responded to growing calls for his recusal, writing a letter to Senator Lindsey Graham stating he will recuse himself if deemed appropriate, and he's the guy that recommended Comey's firing. He signed off on the final FISA warrant based on Hillary Clinton's bought and paid for dossier that even Christopher Steele said maybe 50-50. So given that Rosenstein is overseeing an investigation where he's a key witness and he signed off on the FISA, I think it's probably deemed inappropriate a long time ago. And earlier today, former New York City mayor, current Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani had very strong words for the seemingly never-ending fishing expedition to undo the election of you, the American people. Watch what the former mayor had to say.
They are a group of 13 highly partisan Democrats that make up the Mueller team, excluding him, are trying very, very hard to frame him, to get him in trouble when he hasn't done anything wrong. Now, they may not know they're doing it. They may not realize they're doing it. But they can't emotionally come to grips with the fact that this whole thing of Russian collusion didn't happen, right? That they're trying to invent theories of obstruction of justice. The president fired the FBI director. The president has the right to fire the FBI director. The president should have fired the FBI director. He was a terrible FBI director.
Even Comey said he had a right to fire him. We'll get back to the switch hunt in a minute. Also tonight, bad news for the Trump-hating mainstream media. They're rampant, disgusting conspiracy theories about our First Lady, Melania Trump, being missing in action came all crashing down today as the First Lady appeared alongside her husband at an event in Washington, D.C. So much for the conspiracy theories. Take a look.
I'd like to sort of maybe say and pay some respects to some of the people here today. I have a list. Of course, we have to start with our great First Lady, Melania. Thank you, Melania. She's doing great. She went through a little rough patch, but she's doing great, and we're very proud of her. She's done a fantastic job as First Lady. The people love you. People of our country love you. So thank you, honey.
I'm glad she's healthy. And by the way, her approval ratings are higher than the president's. Now, also, the president delivered a very special message for the media today on Twitter, writing, the fake news media has been so unfair, so vicious to my wife, our great First Lady Melania. During her recovery from surgery, they reported everything from near death to facelift to she left me in the White House for New York or Virginia to abuse. All fake, and she's doing really well. All right, let's turn our attention now to Kim Kardashian. Okay, you didn't expect me to say that, did you? Now, she visited the Oval Office, as you know, recently to shine a light on the criminal justice system and reform in particular, and one case involving Alice Marie Johnson, who was a great-grandmother. Remember, she was sentenced to life in prison after being found guilty of nonviolent drug charges. It was only her first offense. Today, President Trump commuted the sentence of Ms. Johnson, who has already served 22 years. Now, a few hours ago, Kim Kardashian thanked the president, writing, quote, so grateful to @Real Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, and to everyone who showed compassion and contributed countless hours to this important moment for Miss Alice Marie Johnson. Her commutation is inspirational and gives hope to so many others who are also deserving of a second chance. And of course, by the way, this is likely just the beginning of what is a long-needed conversation in this country about sentencing, criminal reform that the president has vowed to tackle. This two-tier justice system that we now know way more than we should about, it stretches wide and it stretches far. These issues must be addressed. Equal justice under the law, equal application of the laws. By the way, we do wish Ms. Johnson all our best tonight. And meanwhile, someone who has actually benefited from our two-tier justice system, speaking of which, his whole entire life, former President Bill Clinton. Yeah, he's back in the spotlight. Believe it or not, he's finally facing some backlash from the mainstream media and Democrats over his long history of sexual abuse and misconduct. And Democrats in the media, remember, they protected the Clintons all through the last presidential campaign. That is until November 9th, 2016, the day after Hillary lost. Remember this.
Do you think differently or feel more responsibility?
No, I felt terrible then, and I came to grips with it.
Did you ever apologize to him?
No, yes, and nobody believes that I got out of that for free. I left the White House $16 million in debt. But you typically have ignored gaping facts in describing this, and I bet you don't even know them.
Do you feel like you owe her an apology?
No, I do. I do not. I've never talked to her, but I did say publicly on more than one occasion that I was sorry. I dealt with it 20 years ago plus, and the American people, 2/3 of them stayed with me, and I've tried to do a good job since then with my life and with my work. That's all I have to say to you.
Now, following that interview, Bill Clinton actually trashed NBC News for finally asking a tough question. Kind of questions they should have asked during the campaign in 2016, and they fired back. Take a look.
The former president, Bill Clinton, expressing some regret over his controversial remarks about Monica Lewinsky here on Today, but still making false allegations about that interview with Craig.
Overnight, the former president said that his interview with us was not his, quote, finest hour. Speaking with Mr. Colbert, Mr. Clinton made another public apology for his behavior during the Monica Lewinsky scandal, but also took issue with the questions we asked him earlier this week.
I think the tape speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You, of course, did not assert that he never apologized. You asked whether he had apologized.
Thank you very much.
Of course, NBC News, the rest of the media is about 30 years too late. Remember, they gave Bill Clinton a complete and total pass until his wife lost the election. Right here on Hannity, we did call out Clinton's alleged sexual assault year after year, way before the Me Too movement and way before the left seemed to care about his misconduct. You might remember this.
You described a scene where he was biting on your lip, and then when it was all over, he was leaving. Said, you better put some ice on that.
Yeah, and casually put on his sunglasses and walked out the door.
It was a terrible ordeal for me, and no woman should be subjected to it.
But
it was an assault.
He assaulted you?
Yes.
He touched, grabbed, fondled,
yes.
and kissed you
yes.
against your will?
Yes.
And it's an allegation that is not made by one woman, it's made by multiple
Many
women.
of us.
I said, well, I may need to be going or something. And next thing you know, he pulled down he sat down, pulled down his pants, his whole everything, and he was exposed. And I said, I'm not that kind of girl, and I need to be getting back to my desk.
That Juanita Broderick interview, one of the hardest I've ever done in the 23 and a half years here at Fox. Only one more example proving that we will never be the mainstream media. We do care about people, the American people, and we cover the stories. They just refuse to because they're so politically oriented, agenda-driven. These are issues that should transcend politics. Finally tonight, we finish with yet another amazing piece of economic news, perhaps the best ever. For the first time since the stat started recording, the United States has more jobs today than jobless claims. Get that. We have more jobs available than we have people on the unemployment lines. And on top of that, we have 14 states today with record low unemployment numbers and record low unemployment for women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans. Now remember, if this was the Obama administration, I guarantee you Chris Matthews would be having a lot of thrills running up and down his leg. It'd be nonstop, 24/7. But this president did promise you jobs, jobs, and more jobs. And in 501 days, guess what? He's delivering. Joining us now with reaction to our monologue and all the breaking news tonight, he's the former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, and that is Joe DeGeneva. Let me start with the IG report. 18 months later, I have a problem. But we did have a good result in the case of McCabe where there was a criminal referral. But now Rod Rosenstein and the DOJ, they have had this report for now 2 weeks. Why are my suspicions, the same guy that has obstructed Congress, and won't hand over the documents that they've subpoenaed to do their congressional constitutional oversight, why do I not trust them that they want changes, revisions, redactions to protect themselves?
Well, the reason is very simple, Sean. Rod Rosenstein is a careerist. He believes in the institution of the Department of Justice and the FBI to the exclusion of any accusations of fault. And what's happening right now is that the IG report is being scrubbed by Rosenstein and his minions and people at the FBI, and they are removing as much embarrassing information about the Bureau as possible. And unfortunately, it's going to delay the release of the report and perhaps put it out during the Singapore summit. This conduct by Rosenstein and the people responsible for the delay is reprehensible, but it is of a pattern because what they want to do is they want to hurt the president. Believe it or not, the Deputy Attorney General wants to hurt the president, and he wants to prevent the release of truthful information, to deny transparency to the American people, to protect career people inside the Department of Justice and the FBI. What happened during the campaign and what happened during the Hillary Clinton email server investigation is a national disgrace. And Rosenstein should be at the forefront of releasing that information, and instead he is trying to hide substantial portions of it.
So it's not going to be Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, that decides the release date here. So in other words, if it's released anytime between now and all through next week with this historic summit taking place in Singapore with Kim Jong-un and President Trump, would you agree with me that they're either burying it on a summer Friday weekend or they're burying it during one of the most historic summits in history?
Well, there's no question that that is their intent. Otherwise, this would have been released a long time ago. The reason it's being delayed is also to allow the leaks, which you saw today, the partial leak of the description of Comey's insubordination. Wow, that's a big surprise. He was insubordinate. He was more than that. He not only was insubordinate, he subverted the Department of Justice and its core function. Even though Loretta Lynch was compromised, there sat Sally Yates with all of her flaws, who could have easily described what happened and could have decided this case on behalf of the Attorney General. But what's happening now is they're delaying purposely to prevent timely disclosure.
So you're convinced that they're definitely going to try and bury this, and the person that would make that decision is who? It's not the Inspector General, right? He doesn't...
No, it's Rod Rosenstein. The Deputy Attorney General controls the release of the report. The report, even though it's going to Congress, is controlled by the Attorney General and the Inspector General. And they have the right to make changes for national security or other reasons. But we know from the record already...
2 weeks worth of changes? 2 weeks worth of redactions? 2 weeks worth of pressuring Michael Horowitz to alter his report?
Right. And remember, the FBI director assigned additional people so that they could respond more quickly.
All right. Let me go to what has come out as it relates to what supposedly in the insubordination issue which you raised. No, we know the facts in this case. It's irrefutable. It's indisputable at this point. It's incontrovertible at this point. Hillary, in fact, violated the Espionage Act. She put top secret classified special access programming information on a private server. That's illegal. And she lied about it. And as I said, now that Robert Mueller wants everybody's phones in case they use one of these applications, I guess, you know, WhatsApp or whatever you call this stuff. So he wants all this information. And interestingly, he wants it. And I wonder if everybody that has phones, if they did what Hillary did, and that's delete the emails, delete the app, acid wash the phone, break it up to little bits, and take the SIM cards out, how would that work out for all the people Robert Mueller's requesting phones from?
If they have done any of those steps that you just identified, they would have obstructed justice and we would be subject to prosecution. Of course, that wasn't the way Hillary Clinton was treated because James Comey conducted a fraudulent investigation. No subpoenas, no search warrants, no grand jury, massive use illegally of immunity, with the permission of the Attorney General and Sally Yates, the Deputy Attorney General. So what you have is a double standard. And it's just flagrantly visible by the way Mueller is conducting his investigation. The ultimate pressure as opposed to the ultimate no pressure in the Hillary Clinton investigation.
Yeah, and what about the larger role? We know, and we've only got a sampling of Strzok's text messages with Lisa Page, the absolute hatred they had for Donald Trump. Last week, we broke a story on this program that said, no, this is being run out of the Obama White House. And then, of course, they're the ones that want the insurance policy. He's the guy that interviewed Hillary 2 days before they exonerated her, but they were writing the exoneration in May. This was July. He's the guy that interviewed Flynn and said he didn't lie to the FBI. He's the guy that then flew to London and was involved in the investigation of Trump immediately. And Robert Mueller appointed this guy. When are the charges against him coming?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that the Inspector General's report is going to deal with all of that. It's impossible not to. And if it didn't, then, of course, Horowitz's performance would be abysmal. But I expect it to deal with it. Strzok is a very, very serious person in all of this. He would probably be someone, because of the knowledge that he has of Comey's and other activities, who may very well be immunized. But my guess is that there will be criminal referrals from the investigation involving the way the FBI covered up the Clinton investigation, and basically as a bunch of dirty cops led by the senior dirty cop, James Comey, through the case. It's really the most embarrassing situation in the history of the FBI.
I have faith, because there were 30 FBI agents, and I predict they're going to be the heroes in this story, that want to be subpoenaed by Congress. They want to tell the story of how corrupt their bosses were. They'll be the heroes, the rank and file. We can trust them. All right, Joe DeGenova, appreciate it. More breaking news when we come back. Sarah Carter, Greg Jarrett. Also, don't miss Jesse Waters, Jessica Tarlow. Who's going to win tonight? And much more. Straight ahead.
They are a group of 13 highly partisan Democrats that make up the Mueller team, excluding him, are trying very, very hard to frame him, to get him in trouble when he hasn't done anything wrong. Now, they may not know they're doing it. They may not realize they're doing it. But they can't emotionally come to grips with the fact that this whole thing of Russian collusion didn't happen, right? That they're trying to invent theories of obstruction of justice. The president fired the FBI director. The president has the right to fire the FBI director. The president should have fired the FBI director. He was a terrible FBI director.
That was the president's attorney, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, saying that Robert Mueller and his team are trying very hard to frame the president. Joining us now, Fox News investigative reporter and contributor Sarah Carter. You see that book right there? Get your copy now. It comes out next month. You don't want to miss it. By the way, to the Inspector General, what you don't tell, well, Greg Jarrett will. The illicit scheme, the Russia hoax to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. I said that yesterday. I want to ask a question here. Is the mayor right? Because a perjury trap is framing, and that's the title of your book.
Sure. I think the mayor borrowed the subtitle of my book.
You think he basically
Well, no, I think
stole
he
from
believes it. Well, it's a form of flattery, isn't it?
Oh, ouch. You know, why everyone in the world causing me problems every day. Why can't you just say, I would assume he thought of it on his own?
The evidence is increasingly clear that there was a scheme, an illicit scheme, not just to clear Hillary Clinton. That's pretty obvious, as you stated in the monologue. Copious crimes. 110 charges should have been filed against her.
There's no dispute here. She committed felonies. She obstructed justice.
Right. And, I mean, how do you explain that people like David Petraeus, Sandy Berger, John Deutsch, Harold T. Martin, Christian Saucier, Brian Nishimura, all these people did much less the identical thing that Hillary Clinton did? They get criminally prosecuted, and she doesn't.
And Sarah, that's the point here. You know, Rod Rosenstein has now held this IG report for 2 weeks, wanting revisions, redactions, comments made. I'm sure trying to alter this document. The question here is, Greg Jarrett makes the case in that book we just put up. These documents, not what we have, exist, and he had a lot more information. And that raises the question, will he give in to the pressure? Will he bury it on a summer Friday? Will he bury it during the summit next week?
The scales of justice, Sean, appear to be not balanced, and that's exactly what Greg Jarrett's saying. I mean, Christian Saucier spent a year in prison for something so minor and then eventually, thankfully, pardoned by President Trump. And now we see what's going on with Michael Horowitz and how he's being kind of pushed into a corner. I mean, he has to give the people in the report the time to do their due diligence and review the report. But they have to turn back those addendums to the report, and they have to be able to explain.
Doesn't he have the final say, and who gets the say as to when it's released?
No, absolutely. He has the final say. He has the final say when it's released, and he can come back to them and say, guess what? This isn't a national security risk. I'm not going to redact this. This doesn't expose sources or methods. We're going to let this report go to the public.
At the end of the day, he's the Inspector General of the Department of Justice.
And
it's all in the same family.
That's right, Sean, and he knows all eyes are on him right now. All eyes are on Michael Horowitz and this report, and he's going to do the right thing. If he believes in what he does, and I believe he does, and we saw that in the last report, he is going to do what is right here. And remember, that April 24th letter...
anything short of Hillary committed felonies, Hillary obstructed justice, that Comey struck and others rigged the investigation, they exonerated before investigation. Anything short of that is a failure on his part, and it's a cover-up on his part, in my opinion.
And it would be a failure on the American people. It would be a failure to our justice system. And I certainly don't think that's what he wants to do. I certainly don't think that's his legacy. That's right. His name is on that report. And remember, there are 400 people working with the Inspector General. Not all of them on this case in particular, but there's a lot of investigators on this. They've interviewed a number of FBI agents. They've also interviewed people that are in that report. And I think we're going to hear Comey, Loretta Lynch.
Well, we're going to hear from the FBI agents. I just said in the last segment, the heroes in this, and you're talking to some of them as well as I, are going to be people in the FBI, in the intelligence community that bravely want to come forward and tell the truth before Congress, but they have to be subpoenaed first. And from my knowledge and understanding and my sources, they're already lined up. When this report comes out, Horowitz will be interviewed, they will be subpoenaed, and then the story will be told, and we will be proven right, and the corrupt media will be proven wrong. I'm talking too much. Sorry.
Well, I think your point is well taken. All we know is just one aspect of the IG's report, that Comey was insubordinate. Well, that's a generous attribution to Comey's conduct. I would point people's attention to the April 18th criminal referral by members of Congress to Sessions in the Department of Justice. They identify a dozen potential crimes by Comey for concealing evidence before a FISA judge, stealing government documents, leaking classified documents, 4 instances of potentially lying to Congress. The list goes on and on.
Mueller wants everyone's cell phones. My advice to them, not really kidding, bad advice, would be follow Hillary's, lead.
Yeah, well,
delete them, acid wash them, bust them up, take out the SIM cards and say, here, little pieces, here, Mr. Mueller, here, I'm following Hillary's lead.
Clinton and her associates did that, they were obstructing justice. And what is inexplicable is that the FBI gave immunity to at least 5 different Clinton people in exchange for what? You don't give immunity to somebody for nothing.
And let them keep their devices?
They get to keep their devices. Those devices that the FBI obtained, some of them they never looked at. The others had nothing on them.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
And
Sean, this is a tactic. This is a tactic of Mueller. He's shaking the trees. He's making people nervous.
Boom, boom, boom. Crack it up and have a little piece and say, here, Mr. Mueller, courtesy of Hillary. All right. That's why I bust my cell phone every day. Can't wait for the book. When we come back, Jesse Waters, Jessica Tarlov. This is going to be interesting. Stay with us.
I have like 3 years of quotes about me and Donald Trump, so I'm not going to keep going down that road. Respectfully, to me, not going to the White House had nothing to do with the anthem. I said I wouldn't go to the White House a long time ago. The players didn't create this situation, this division. So I think the game has changed where you make athletes who activists, guys who, speak up, from little people, things like that. I think guys who aren't, scared to speak their mind. Taking a knee for the flag was never, to be disrespectful for them. flipped a little bit. That's kind of been the situation where people think, you know, you're disrespecting the flag or, you know, stuff like that. It's never the case. You know, it's just about, you know, killing and unarmed, you know, minorities. That's what it's always been about.
A couple of Eagle players from earlier today reacted to President Trump's decision to cancel the event for them at the White House yesterday. The president, by the way, was right to cancel the Eagles event after last minute. Well, only a few members, even though most of them had accepted originally, were going to show up, despite dozens of them, by the way, RSVPing. Yeah, we'll be there. And 1,000 fans going to Washington only to be screwed by the Eagles. I never liked the Eagles. I still don't. And I'm sick of the NFL, and I'm sick of all of this nonsense. Now we're going to hide in the locker room. So we'll take our knee there. We can't respect the flag that people fought, bled, and died under. Now, meanwhile, tonight, the Destroy Trump media owes the president and the First Lady a serious apology for their absolutely vile and vicious coverage of the First Lady and her public absence in recent weeks. She did just have surgery. Now, the First Lady joined the president at a FEMA briefing earlier today, as we showed you earlier. Joining us now with reaction, we'll see whose world it is. She's already at a deficit because she's not here. Jessica Tarlov, and he is the co-host of not one but two shows, Water's World, and of course The Five. And go ahead.
You know what, Jessica?
No. I have a bone to pick with you tonight.
What's that?
You're an Eagles fan.
Yes.
Okay. They were invited. They RSVP'd, yes. Last 24 hours, no, we're not coming. They decided last minute not to come as a group. There was like one player, maybe three were going to show up.
Right.
10 people total.
Right.
1,000 fellow Eagles fans like you.
I was there.
Okay. You were there.
I showed up.
You showed up.
And they
guess
weren't
what?
there.
And they weren't there. That speaks volumes to me about your Eagles, about how classless that was, because they weren't thinking of you and your fellow fans of the Eagles.
Listen, the Eagles blew it. They fumbled it, to use a football analogy, Jessica.
They fumbled it, or they
done the right thing, and they should have gone because, listen, patriotism is more important than politics. If I was to play pro ball, I could have played pro ball. I decided to do Fox instead. If I had won a championship, which I probably would have, and had gone to the White House under an Obama administration,
you're leading by a mile.
I would have still gone to the Obama White House, even if I didn't like the president.
I haven't even gotten to say anything yet. Of course he's leading.
No, you're leading. I'm saying you, Jessica.
How can she be leading? She's in Europe, Sean.
Okay, but the point is very simple, Jessica, and that is they didn't care about the fans. They had accepted the invitation. 1,000 fans, even Jesse Waters going to D.C. to watch this unfold. And they wasted their time, energy, and money, and the Eagles didn't care. I blame the Eagles. That's why I'm not watching the NFL.
Judging by the parade that they had back in Philadelphia, it seems like the Eagles care plenty about their fans, and they have a great relationship with them. They're some of the biggest diehard fans, like young Jesse here, who even still went down to D.C. to be there to honor them in absentia. But I think the real issue here is that whether they RSVP'd or not, these people, these athletes do not feel like this president is a good icon for the country, that he doesn't unite people, he divides them. He doesn't acknowledge the fact that the anthem protests have to do with criminal justice reform.
You know who's not
and
a good
rather
icon?
he would make up a lie and
the
say
division.
that they weren't coming because of the
Jessica,
protests.
I'm with Jessica. Stop blaming Kaepernick for what the Eagles did. Your Eagles did this to their fans yesterday.
I think you're a Giants fan, and you're being unfair here.
No, I was a Jets fan, but after they said they're going to pay.
Wait, you're a Jets fan?
Not anymore.
And you're dumping on the Eagles?
Not anymore.
Oh, come on, Sean.
But I like the Giants more. Well, listen, I was the biggest Philadelphia Flyers fan. I wanted to be Bobby Clark.
Yeah.
Bobby Clark, Rick McLeish, Dave Schultz, Hound Dog Kelly, Bernie Prunt. They would have been there.
Yeah, they would have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you like a guy with no teeth. That's your idol.
I fell off a roof and busted up all my teeth, too, so it's not a big deal. All right, let me go to the horrible treatment of Melania. Again, you heard the vicious comments by all of these people, David Frum, Stephen Colbert, the list goes on, Jessica. I don't believe this ever would have happened, or can I think of it happening, to Michelle Obama.
Maybe not to Michelle Obama, but definitely to Hillary Clinton. And there was plenty of chat about Michelle Obama, her health issues that have dogged her entire career. Now, there was a CNBC reporter who actually tweeted that he had seen her.
For the first time in my adult life, I'm proud of my country.
Just decided to ignore. I'm not sure about some big formal apology, but this certainly didn't turn out to be the story.
Can you think of an instance where it happened to
was.
Michelle Obama?
No, I don't think it would have happened to Michelle Obama, but I also think that Michelle Obama would have given people heads up if she was going in for surgery. Yeah. And she would have kept people updated. Melania is a very private person. I totally respect that about her, but the press asks questions.
What they did
and you didn't address my point about the speculation about Hillary's health nonstop.
She had just had an operation, and she had been seen publicly. You have a chance to save your...
I would say the only thing missing is the media's credibility. Think about how good things have to be going in the country for the media to fuss over where Melania is. You know what's really missing? ISIS. ISIS is missing. Maybe they should report on that. You know who else hasn't been seen in a while?
They give him
Peter Strzok. Where's Peter Strzok? He's involved in an actual conspiracy. They haven't had a very good week, the media.
You need a good comeback, Jessica.
I need a good comeback. I stayed up until 2:30 in the morning to be here with you guys. I think that's
a good comeback, actually. All right. For the first time ever, it's Jessica's world. You're living in it.
You know what? Trump was right. I'm tired of winning.
When we come back, you're not going to want to miss this. Sebastian Gorka, Geraldo Rivera, they're going to duke it out over what is going to be a major issue in the midterms, and we're going to show you the ad that is spurring this debate. That's straight ahead. All right, so last night was the biggest primary night of 2018, and we're only months away from the crucial midterm elections. Now, as president, Donald Trump has said there is a lot at stake in these midterms. I'm saying it's the most important in our lifetime. Think about this. Democrats take control of the House and Senate. They're going to be out for blood. They want to impeach this president. They want to keep Obamacare. They want open borders, and they want more of your money back. They want to take back the tax cut. I hope you won't forget where the Democrats stand on these important issues facing the country. The RNC certainly is not. They have a new ad that is hitting the Dems on their message regarding open borders and the violent gang, MS-13. Watch this.
We're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person.
We're talking about MS-13. Their motto is rape, torture, kill.
The victim was stabbed more than 100 times, decapitated, dismembered, and his heart was cut out of his chest and then thrown into a pre-dug grave.
The two young men shown here kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and shot a 15-year-old girl.
Calling people animals is not a good thing.
Not so bad. And just breaking tonight, Department of Homeland Security announcing that border arrests exceeded 50,000 now for the third month in a row. Here with us, former Deputy Assistant to the President, Fox News National Security Strategist, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, the author of the bestseller, The Geraldo Show, Fox News Correspondent at Large, Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo, think of the issues. This is the Democratic Party. They want to raise taxes. They've said so. They are saying to each other, don't tell anybody, but we want to impeach the president. We want to do it, but just don't say it. Please, please, Maxine Waters, stop. Then, of course, they want open borders. You heard what Nancy Pelosi said about MS-13, and they want to keep Obamacare. Now, don't you think those are going to be big issues in November?
I think that the immigration issue is the hot button issue come November, Sean. I think that that will be the one that really resonates and separates the parties. I have a cautionary note because I am a Republican and I don't want a Democratic majority because I think they will endeavor to impeach this president, our friend who's doing, I think, a terrific job. But here's my cautionary note. When you use words like animal, you have to be very careful that you're specifically referring to the people who are animals, who are savages, these gang members, and not paint the immigrant community with a broad brush. We have the absolute right to protect our borders. We have the absolute right through hard police work, through walls, through any kind of effort that is legal. But we do not have the moral right to separate migrating children from their parents. I don't want us to lose this issue by doing something that is so patently
but let's build the wall. Let's have a wall with a door. You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. As I said, I would like to see the wall on the one side and the Dreamers given a pass, a green
The president
light
offered that.
on the other.
The Democrats wanted. The Democrats didn't take that deal.
You're right.
The Democrats had that deal. Dr. Gorka, is this ad? Am I right on the 4 big issues of 2018?
Oh, I think it's absolutely clear. I think nothing's really changed except the president's delivered on those key issues. He started to build the wall. The figures from DHS for Customs and Border Patrol are stunning. And it really will be the economy and national security yet again. And the bottom line is, Sean, the Dems don't have a message. They're whispering in the background about impeachment, but who's their real leader? Where's the charismatic
they have a message.
leader?
Open borders, higher taxes, and impeach the president and keep Obamacare.
More jobs for MS-13. That's their message. I mean, it's a message that's insanity. It literally is Trump derangement syndrome. When Nancy Pelosi gives out a written statement last Friday saying the national jobs figures mean little, what do you mean, Nancy? This is the first time ever. The first time ever that we have full employment when you've got more jobs available than people looking for jobs. Nancy, what do you want? You want more unemployment? Is that what you're arguing for?
She wants to take the crumbs back, the $2,000 in crumbs the average family got. No, thank you.
Right.
Geraldo, you know, for the first time in our history, Geraldo, we have more jobs than people unemployed. Historic low unemployment, 14 states for Hispanic Americans, African Americans, and women.
Dr. Gorka hits a good point here, Sean. The problem with this divided society is that we're not really on the same team. We cheer against our president's successes.
No, Democrats do. No, Democrats are cheering for America to fail right now. They can't stand his success because it hurts their opportunity to gain power. That's a fact.
Well, I tell you, when it comes to for example, the North Korean negotiations, I want everybody to be on the same team, cheering for success for the president.
That's not good for Democrats.
That President Trump faced.
They want power back, Dr. Gorka.
That's not, look, the Democrats don't want America to succeed. That's the bottom line, and that's why they want to sabotage the president. And it's absolutely mind-boggling.
Horrible position to be in. Thank you both. When we come back, our video of the day. All right, so last night was the biggest primary night of 2018, and we're only months away from the crucial midterm elections. Now, as president, well, Donald Trump has said there is a lot at stake in these midterms. I'm saying it's the most important in our lifetime. Think about this. Democrats take control of the House and Senate. They're going to be out for blood. They want to impeach this president. They want to keep Obamacare. They want open borders, and they want more of your money back. They want to take back the tax cut. I hope you won't forget where the Democrats stand on these important issues facing the country. The RNC certainly is not. They have a new ad that is hitting the Dems on their message regarding open borders and the violent gang, MS-13. Watch this.
We're all God's children. There's a spark of divinity in every person.
We're talking about MS-13. Their motto is rape, torture, kill.
The victim was stabbed more than 100 times, decapitated, dismembered, and his heart was cut out of his chest and then thrown into a pre-dug grave.
The 2 young men shown here kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and shot a 15-year-old girl.
Calling people animals is not a good thing.
Not so bad. And just breaking tonight, Department of Homeland Security announcing that border arrests exceeded 50,000 now for the 3rd month in a row. Here with us, former Deputy Assistant to the President, Fox News National Security Strategist, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, the author of the bestseller, The Geraldo Show, Fox News Correspondent at Large, Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo, think of the issues. This is the Democratic Party. They want to raise taxes. They've said so. They are saying to each other, don't tell anybody, but we want to impeach the president. We want to do it, but just don't say it. Please, please, Maxine Waters, stop. Then, of course, they want open borders. You heard what Nancy Pelosi said about MS-13, and they want to keep Obamacare. Now, don't you think those are going to be big issues in November?
I think that the immigration issue is the hot button issue come November, Sean. I think that that will be the one that really resonates and separates the parties. I have a cautionary note because I am a Republican and I don't want a Democratic majority because I think they will endeavor to impeach this president, our friend who's doing, I think, a terrific job. But here's my cautionary note. When you use words like animal, you have to be very careful that you're specifically referring to the people who are animals, who are savages, these gang members, and not paint the immigrant community with a broad brush. We have the absolute right to protect our borders. We have the absolute right through hard police work, through walls, through any kind of effort that is legal. But we do not have the moral right to separate migrating children from their parents. I don't want us to lose this issue by doing something that is so patently
but let's build the wall. Let's have a wall with a door. You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. As I said, I would like to see the wall on the one side and the Dreamers given a pass, a green
The president offered that.
on the other.
The Democrats wanted. The Democrats didn't take that deal.
You're right.
The Democrats had that deal. Dr. Gorka,
You're right.
is this ad? Am I right on the 4 big issues of 2018?
Oh, I think it's absolutely clear. I think nothing's really changed except the president's delivered on those key issues. He started to build the wall. The figures from DHS for Customs and Border Patrol are stunning. And it really will be the economy and national security yet again. And the bottom line is, Sean, the Dems don't have a message. They're whispering in the background about impeachment, but who's their real leader? Where's the charismatic
they have a message.
leader?
Open borders, higher taxes, and impeach the president and keep Obamacare.
More jobs for MS-13. That's their message. I mean, it's a message that's insanity. It literally is Trump derangement syndrome. When Nancy Pelosi gives out a written statement last Friday saying the national jobs figures mean little, what do you mean, Nancy? This is the first time ever. The first time ever that we have full employment, when you've got more jobs available than people looking for jobs. Nancy, what do you want? You want more unemployment? Is that what you're arguing for?
She wants to take the crumbs back, the $2,000 in crumbs the average family got. No, thank you.
Right.
Geraldo, you know,
when you've got
for the first time in our history, Geraldo, we have more jobs than people unemployed. Historic low unemployment, 14 states for Hispanic Americans, African Americans, and women.
Dr. Gorka hits a good point here, Sean. The problem with this divided society is that we're not really on the same team. We cheer against our president's successes.
No, Democrats do. No, Democrats are cheering for America to fail right now. They can't stand his success because it hurts their opportunity to gain power. That's a fact.
Well, I tell you, when it comes to for example, the North Korean negotiations,